Hey guys, what's up? It's Steven again and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be about the new tier 5 or the current tier 5 Pokemon, which is Terrakion. He's the second Pokemon in the trio that is the Swords of Justice, they call it that way, which is Terrakion, Virizion and Cobalion, which has already left the tier 5s. So Cobalion was not really viable, now enter Terrakion. Terrakion is indeed a Pokemon which you want to stock up on and potentially do a few raids on. So in today's video we're going to go over everything that involves Terrakion, movesets, counters, weaknesses, and to start off we're going to be having a look at Terrakion's typing, which is the important thing of course. Terrakion is a rock and fighting type. And CP wise, we're going to be having a look at non-boosted CP. 100% is 2113 and then the boosted one is 2641. Now, what moves does Terrakion get? Unfortunately, Niantic has decided not to put a quick move in terms of fighting on it, which is something along the line they could potentially release, because that would make Terrakion viable in his two typings. At the moment he does not have a quick fighting type move, so that basically shuts him out of the fighting type attacker groups, because he only has Smackdown, which is a rock type move, and Z Headbutt, which is a psychic type move, which is absolutely useless obviously on Terrakion. Those are his two fast quick moves, and his charge moves are Earthquake, Close Combat and Rock Slide. So the combination you want to be looking at is Smackdown, Rock Slide, the double rock type attack, and that is basically at the moment Terrakion's only viable moveset. I'm not talking about PvP, I'm not really that into PvP. Maybe Terrakion could do something in Ultra League, but I'm not sure. That is not for me to discuss because I don't have that kind of experience. I'm more of the raiding kind of guy. Now, with that rock and fighting typing, that dual typing, Terrakion has quite a big amount of weaknesses, namely Fairy, Fighting, Grass, Ground, Psychic, Steel, and Water. So that's quite the amount of typings. That's 7 weaknesses. So as a prominent rock type attacker, that is obviously not going to be nice that you have a weakness to 7 typings, but we'll get into that later into the video. So your best counters based on that typing for me is going to be Mewtwo, preferably with the Psy Strike moveset, which is an absolute beast combination with Confusion or Psycho Cut. It is the best Psychic type attacker in game by a mile. So if you have stocked up on those, definitely use that. And then the best second counter is going to be the Metagross with the Bullet Punch Meteor Mash combination, which is unfortunately a Community Day moveset. If you miss that, you're not going to have a Metagross with that moveset. But if you do, definitely pull it out because it's a beast in this matchup. Of course, when Terrakion has EQ, Metagross can get damaged quite a bit because he is weak to, of course, ground with his steel typing, but the damage output is very important on Metagross. And then, of course, you have the weaker kind of counters. You can use all sorts of psychic types like Espeon, potentially even Latias, but of course the psychic moveset and not the dragon moveset. Kyogre potentially if you have a maxed one, Groudons with EQ, which is very bulky and is gonna last for a date. But in theory and in general, you want to be having those Mewtwo's and those Metagrosses, and if you don't have that, probably go with the Machamps. Machamps are basically a beast, and Machamp resists Rock Slide and Smackdown, so if he has rock type moves, you're gonna resist that with Machamp. So with that all being said, that is basically everything you need to know about Terrakion, who is currently in the tier 5 raids. So get raiding, and we're gonna get into the next part of the video, which is what you do with Terrakion when you actually catch the Terrakion and use it as a potential attacker, a rock type attacker. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back and I've got this spreadsheet open with the damage for rock type attackers. And as you can see, these are all Pokemons, of course, with 2 rock type moves, with Smackdown, Rock Slide, as you can clearly see at the top on Rampardos and Terrakion. So I'm going to be having a look at the DPS first. I clicked the wrong button there. So as you can see, Terrakion is actually second in the list of DPS, which is topped by, of course, Rampardos. We already knew that. Rampardos is the Pokemon with the highest DPS in rock typing, but Rampardos is pretty frail, so you have to take that into account. But as you can see, familiar faces are Tyranitar, obviously, with the Smackdown Stone Edge. Again, Community Day move, but is available in a few weeks in December 2019. In the Community Day weekend is going to return. Tyranitar is actually ranked 3rd, but as you can see, the DPS falls quite a bit below Rampardos and Terrakion. You have Landorus Tyrian form in this list. I'm not sure why they included this. Apparently Landorus Tyrian form is going to have a double rock type moveset, which actually ranks him in 3rd position above Tyranitar, even when he's not a rock type. So we'll see about that, but that is not for this video because Landorus Tyrian form is not available right now, and we're not going to discuss Pokemons that are not available. So Aerodactyl actually ranks in 4th position then, with Rock Slide, and Rhyperior ends in the 5th position, Smackdown Stone Edge again. So that's the top 5 DPS. Now let's have a look at the TDO, which is topped by Tyranitar with the 532, which ranks him only a slightly bit above Rhyperior, which is 529, and then Terrakion comes in the 3rd position. Regirock and Gigalith follow up in the rest of the top 5. So Terrakion is pretty decently placed in both DPS and TDO. You know what that means. Terrakion is actually in 2nd position in the TDO over the DPS times TDO position, which is actually topped by Rampardos, surprisingly enough, because he's pretty frail, but he has that massive leap on the DPS. So Rampardos is the best rock type attacker and stays the best rock type attacker. But Terrakion definitely has some cases to be made as a rock type attacker. Tyranitar just falls below, but just is relative because we go from 1953 to 1592. So that's a big gap that we have there. So Tyranitar, still a viable option as a rock type attacker. Definitely don't start hating on Tyranitar or start transferring Tyranitars. Rhyperior and Gigalith again finish up the top 5 with Landorus Tyrian form not available, and we're not discussing that. So Terrakion, literally a big rock type attacker. Stock up on candy, stock up on good Terrakions with this moveset. Also, that's a big one. Also, TM those moves on them because you never know when they might think about deleting Rock Slide on Terrakion when he leaves tier 5s, for example, and adds Stone Edge or whatever to his new moveset, and you're left with Terrakion with the wrong moveset in the future. So definitely start DMing your good IV Terrakions to this moveset if you want him as your rock type attackers in the future. So Terrakion apparently has a max CP of 3698, which is pretty high. It ranks him above Rampardos, but a slight below Tyranitar. Tyranitar is still a beast and very viable. Again, the typing of Terrakion gives it so that it has a lot of weaknesses as well to trade off to these good stats, because he does have good stats. But Tyranitar is a bit bulkier in terms of he has other weaknesses. So it depends on the matchup. I mean, Tyranitar, for example, also is weak to fighting. is also weak to ground, times 4, both of those. But you're not going to be using a rock type attacker against the ground or a fighting type, because I believe ground also resists rock types, so those are not your favorable matchups. But for example, against a flying type, you want to be using rock type attackers. But with Terrakion's dual typing being fighting as well, he doesn't resist flying, but he takes neutral damage, while Tyranitar is rock and dark, which resists flying type attacks. So it depends on your matchup. Terrakion is definitely going to be viable, but Tyranitar is not completely off the board here. Definitely use Tyranitar as well, and just look at your opponent's typing and then decide what the best matchup is for you. And with that all being said, I think we have a pretty brief comprehensive view on Terrakion as a rock type attacker in this video. So let me guys know in the comments down below what you think about Terrakion, what you think about this video in general, and I will see you guys in a next and future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.